interview with 15-time World Darts champion Phil Taylor. He's told us that he's thinking about retiring after losing his temper with Raymond van Barneveld last night. Taylor beat the Dutchman to reach the final, but says he's ashamed of his behaviour, disillusioned with darts and in need of a break. We'll hear from Taylor in a moment, but first here's a reminder of what happened at the Alexandra Palace last night.
Raymond van Barneveld might be one of darts' most respected legends, but behind the handshakes and polite interviews, there are a few players he'd rather never face again, and some of these grudges run deep. Before the bad blood, Roland Scholten and Raymond van Barneveld were almost inseparable. They weren't just colleagues in darts, they were friends, travel partners, and at one point practically family on the circuit. They'd share rooms on tour, spend hours talking between matches, and even help each other practice for major tournaments. Scholten, with his towering frame and calm demeanor, seemed like the perfect counterbalance to Barney's more intense competitive spirit. But somewhere along the way, things went badly wrong, and this wasn't just a minor disagreement over tactics or travel plans. In Barney's own words, something happened that he could never accept. He's never publicly given the full story, but the way he talks about it makes it sound like a line was crossed so badly that any chance of reconciliation vanished instantly. When pressed in interviews, Barney simply says, "We don't talk. We will never talk again." Those who were around at the time say the tension was obvious. Small, sharp comments in press conferences, moments of icy silence when they passed each other backstage. For two men who once stood shoulder to shoulder in team events, it was like watching a bridge collapse in slow motion. Scholten himself hasn't said much about it publicly, which only fuels the mystery. Was it betrayal? Was it a personal insult? Or was it something even darker that neither side wants to relive? Whatever it was, the fallout was absolute. No handshakes, no small talk, not even a nod of recognition when they crossed paths at tournaments. It's as if years of friendship have been erased, leaving nothing but that one unnamed moment to define the relationship. And for Barney, the silence speaks louder than any grudge he's ever admitted to. But as bitter as this was, it was just the first crack in a long line of rivalries, and the next one wouldn't just sting, it would humiliate him in front of the whole world. When it comes to James Wade, there's always been an edge to his interactions with Van Barneveld, but one incident cemented that tension forever. It happened after a high-stakes match where Barney had been visibly frustrated, struggling to find his rhythm. Wade, known for his gamesmanship, decided to end the night with a move that seemed more mocking than friendly. He walked right up to Barney and kissed him on the cheek. Now, on paper, that might sound playful, even harmless, but this wasn't just any kiss. It came hot on the heels of Wade's infamous Lickgate scandal, where he'd done the same to another player, sparking outrage from fans and fellow pros alike. Doing it to Barney, one of the sport's most respected veterans, felt like a deliberate poke, a way to get under his skin when emotions were already running high. Barney's reaction told the whole story. No smile, no laugh, not even a word, just a look, the kind of look that could freeze a crowd into silence. The cameras caught it, and the clip spread across social media like wildfire. Fans argued over whether it was a joke gone wrong or a straight-up act of disrespect. But for Barney, the damage was done. This wasn't about one kiss, it was about a lack of respect on the oche, and once that respect is gone, you can't just glue it back together. Behind the scenes, people say the two rarely speak now unless they have to. It's not an all-out war, but it's an unmistakable frost in the air whenever they're in the same room. And unlike some rivalries that fade over time, this one seems to linger, because Barney has always been a player who values dignity above all else. And for him, that moment crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. But if Wade's antics were a slap in the face, the next rivalry was more like a head-on collision, one that nearly turned physical in front of millions. In darts, few rivalries have ever burned hotter than Raymond van Barneveld versus Phil the Power Taylor. On paper, it was the perfect storyline, the Dutch hero versus the English powerhouse, two titans trading blows at the very top of the sport. But in reality, it was personal. Every time they stepped on stage together, you could feel the tension humming in the air, the kind that makes the crowd hold its breath before every dart. The defining flashpoint came during the 2013 PDC World Championship semi-final. It was one of those matches where the atmosphere feels like it could explode at any second. Barney had been pushing Taylor hard, and you could see the frustration building in both men with every missed double and every roaring celebration. Then came the handshake, or more accurately, the non-handshake. At the match's end, Taylor reached out, but instead of the usual firm grip and smile, the two locked in a tense, almost aggressive grasp. Leaning in close, eyes locked, jaws tight, It looked less like sportsmanship and more like a prelude to a brawl. Security was nearby, the crowd was roaring, and commentators were stumbling over their words, trying to process what they were seeing. Later, Taylor claimed it was all in the heat of the moment, but Barney didn't buy it.
A bit gutted about what happened at the end, obviously. I mean, I let myself down and, you know, trying to put the record straight. Raymond, he's a big lad and I don't feel too well, and it just hurt me a little bit when he's squeezing my hand and pulling me around the neck. And I reacted wrongly.
This wasn't a one-off either. For years, they'd traded subtle jabs in interviews, little digs about professionalism, pressure, and mental toughness. Taylor's dominance on the scoreboard only fueled the fire, while Barney's wins, rare but memorable, carried extra weight precisely because of who he was beating. It was a rivalry that wasn't just about darts. It was about pride, legacy, and two alpha competitors who refused to back down. Even today, fans still debate who won their rivalry, but one thing's certain: that near-fight handshake is etched into darts history as one of its most electric and awkward moments. And just when you think Barney's toughest battles were over, the next feud would take things off the oche entirely, into accusations that hit right at the heart of his integrity. For most of his career, Raymond van Barneveld built a reputation as one of darts' class acts, a man who played hard but played fair. That's why his feud with Gary Anderson cut so deep. The trouble began during the Premier League, where tensions were already high. Anderson, known for his fiery competitive streak, accused Barney of bending the rules in a way that many fans took as outright cheating. The exact claim was murky, something about pace of play and the way Barney was retrieving darts, but the accusation alone was enough to light a fuse. To Barney, it was an attack not just on his performance, but on his entire career. He was visibly furious in post-match interviews, saying he was disgusted that a fellow pro would stoop to that level. What followed was a public Cold War. Anderson kept his comments sharp, hinting that everyone knows what happened, while Barney fired back that Anderson's frustration came from losing focus, not foul play. For fans, it was juicy drama, the kind of simmering grudge that makes their next match appointment viewing.
It doesn't matter. I always play fair, and if someone blaming me about unfair playing, we have a chat there. Trust me.
The feud left a permanent dent in their relationship. These two may still share the stage, but the warmth is gone. There's no casual banter, no nod of mutual respect, just a silent understanding that neither man trusts the other. And in darts, where mental warfare can be just as important as throwing accuracy, that tension lingers long after the match is over. And while accusations can sting, sometimes the smallest acts can leave the biggest marks, especially when they hit a player's identity right where it hurts. On paper, Romeo Grabavac's feud with Raymond van Barneveld might seem almost comical compared to the others. There were no harsh words, no shoving matches, no accusations of foul play. Instead, it was all about a song. But in darts, walk-on music isn't just a song, it's a player's signature, their entrance, their statement to the world. And for Barney, Eye of the Tiger wasn't just his theme, it was his. So when Grabavac used the exact same track for his walk-on during a PDC World Championship, it was like showing up to a party in someone else's custom-made suit. Barney didn't say much in the moment, but his expression told the whole story. Irritation, disbelief, and that, "Are you serious?" look every fan recognized instantly. To him, it wasn't an accident. It was a breach of respect, even if it came from a rookie. The controversy spiraled online, with fans split between calling it a harmless coincidence and accusing Grabavac of trying to steal a legend's spotlight. Eventually, Barney made it clear he'd moved past it, but the fact that it even became a talking point shows how personal these details can be in the world of darts. To outsiders, it was just a song. To Barney, it was part of his identity, and seeing someone else use it even once left a sting that fans won't forget. The rivalry between Raymond van Barneveld and Michael van Gerwen runs deep, but not just on the oche. The tension came to a head after one Eurotour encounter when MVG threw a jibe not with a dart, but with a metaphor. He likened Barney to VfB Stuttgart, the underdog German side, while setting himself up as the powerhouse of Bayern Munich, powerful, dominant, and positioned to win.
Speaking about your match yesterday, he said it's a Classico. He said it's like Manchester United against Liverpool. He said gets the people going. Is it a special one for you as well, playing against him?
It's always special against Raymond, but he needs to forget. He's like Stuttgart at the moment.
For Barney, that wasn't a clever play. It was a slap in the face. His walking on bravado didn't just come from skill, it was part of his identity as the elder statesman of Dutch darts. To be cast as a Stuttgart to MVG's Bayern felt like being relegated to a footnote, but Barney didn't let the barbs settle. Later, after beating MVG 6-3 at the European Darts matchplay in Trier, he fired back with the perfect sting. Sometimes Stuttgart can win over Bayern Munich after all. It wasn't just a comeback, it was poetic justice delivered with a grin.
Your first win against Michael in nearly 5 years. Your first win against him on a European Tour stage. It wasn't the greatest game as far as the statistics go, but nevertheless a great win.
I know sometimes VfB Stuttgart can beat Bayern Munich.
Behind the scenes, we hear MVG apologized right after the match, quietly diffusing what could have become a very public feud. That moment didn't just add fuel, it reminded fans that even legends have egos, feelings, and a sharp sense of poetic irony. Raymond van Barneveld's career isn't just a highlight reel of trophies and perfect finishes. It's a story laced with rivalries, grudges, and moments that still get fans talking years later. From the betrayal that ended a friendship, to a mocking kiss, to a handshake that nearly turned into a fight, Barney's path has been anything but smooth. Each of these clashes peeled back a different layer of the man, sometimes proud, sometimes wounded, but always fiercely protective of his respect and reputation. And maybe that's the real takeaway here. In a sport built on precision and mental toughness, the battles off the oki can be just as defining as the ones on it. Barney might have left some of these feuds behind, but the memories and the sparks they created will always be part of his legacy. The question is, which of these rivalries do you think left the deepest scar?